everyone, it's Diane. How are ya? Hope everybody's doing well today. Welcome back to all those people who've been joining me each week to work on our A to Z project. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you find something inspiring and you come back again one day and get some more ideas and then go craft. So, I think today we are using, from the beginning of my bookshelf, Avant-Garde, which is a really very simple but very pretty set. I think I got this one secondhand, and I may have used this flower stamp once or twice before. But that's our A set today. And if you are new and haven't been a part of this project that I'm working on so far, what I'm doing is trying to use every stamp set on my shelves throughout the year sometime. And that's excluding the seasonal ones. You know, Christmas, we use those all at Christmas, and Valentine's Day just got put away, and Easter's coming up. So as I pull them out, I'm starting at the beginning because my stamp sets are in somewhat, and I'm talking about my Stampin' Up! Sets. I have other sets as well, and hopefully we'll use them too. But I have about 300 sets here that we need to get through. So we'll try. It might take a longer time than this whole year. Yeah, so anyways, at the beginning, Avant-Garde was my A's, and we're in the W's, and the end of my bookshelf was Winter Woods. I also realized that when I first started this, I was trying to make the same pattern card for each stamp set. But then as we got into sets that had images and no sentiments, or sentiments and no images, I kind of had to blend them up a little bit, as is the case today with Winter Woods. I'm not ready to start Christmas cards again yet. I like Christmas cards, but we just finished a whole bunch of them. So I thought I could have skipped over this set and stuck this with my Christmas set, but the trees are pretty. And that could be spring or fall or whatever. And when I opened it up, the only stamp I think I used out of here was the large tree. Maybe the shadow that goes under it, I'm not sure. And the greeting. So I decided to use the stamp with the 5 trees on it. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. Okay, so remember, these cards that we're making, you can do pretty much with any stamp set, any paper, anything that you have. You don't have to, a lot of these are retired. You're not going to be able to get them anyway. So pull out some of your sets and, you know, just kind of get the idea of the card here, and then use what you have and you can make these. In addition to these, Winter Woods did have a coordinating die set, which I didn't use, and I realized I probably could have because this had a, I guess it's supposed to be a snowbank die, but it's just a curve. But before I realized that, I had pulled out my basic border dies because I wanted to make just not a straight edge on my layers today. If you don't have border dies, the specific set, you can use any curve or any edge die that you have if it's lacy. And if you don't have any of those and you're not a die cutter, just trim it straight. It'll work. I also found on the bookshelf right behind me here, I keep this set out. This was from an old paper pumpkin kit from Stampin' Up. And I keep it on the shelf behind me because it has dad, daughter, brother, son, sister, mom. So I keep this here in case, you know, like when I go to make my sister's birthday card or something for one of my brothers or whatever, I have this there. And I might add that today because our one card is somewhat masculine. And I'm also going to use, I pulled out this old embossing folder. This is Petal Burst. And I just pulled this one out because it had a nice leafy design in it. You know, I didn't want anything that was too specific, you know, a wreath or a particular picture. I just wanted an overall design to add some interest to my panel. Okay, that's what I'm using so far. I have a bunch of very vanilla offcuts from Christmas cards that we had done, and that's going to be great because I need very vanilla today. I have some pattern paper that I wasn't really crazy about the one design, and this is a great way to use your pattern paper that, you know, or scrapbook paper. Maybe you look at it and you think, oh, if I had to do that all over again, I probably wouldn't have picked that one. I was never crazy about this blue flower. I like the blue flowers. I don't know. There was just something about it. It didn't really capture my love. I did like the back, and I've used the back side of it several times. It also has this little woven design, which came in handy on some backgrounds, and this side was gorgeous. So you see, sometimes if it's a two-sided design, you know, one of them you just might say, I'm never going to use that. And for me, it was this blue paper. And this was Pressed Petals Specialty Designer Series paper. And again, they don't put a year on here. I know this was older, but I still have some of the paper, and that's part of the project as well. Use up my paper. Oh. And so what did I do? I ordered more. Not really more. You know, we just did that card last week with the dainty flowers that you can get free from Stampin' Up! Right now because it's their celebration. Anyways, I like the card that I did so much. I thought that I would use that for our workshop this month because we used the oval wreath that was on here. So anyways, I wanted to make sure I had enough wreaths. So when I ordered, I wanted to make sure that I ordered my $50 so that I could get the free paper again, and I'll have enough of those wreaths. So here I am. I'm going to have a bunch of paper, and I was trying to use up what I had. So this was the first card with that blue paper in the background that I didn't really care for. And this is the Avant-Garden little flower. And I used Night of Navy as my card base. And this is Crumb Cake that we're going to use in the embossing folder. And it just gives a little bit of texture and interest to the background. So, yeah, embossing folders come in handy. I'm just trying to see if I can get rid of that shadow, but I guess not. For the flowers on here, I did try to use Night of Navy markers and alcohol markers and ink, and it was just too dark. It took away from the detail of the flowers. I guess if I'd have stamped the flowers in black or something, it would have come out better, but I wanted it to coordinate more with my panel, so I did it in Crumb Cake. So I colored them with just Seaside Spray, and that worked. I was still able to see the detail of the flowers in there, so that's the one we're going to do. And the other one with the 5 trees, one of the other papers on there was this wood grain paper, and although I like it, I don't use it often, so it was good that I found a way to put that into my card, and I added it to the inside as well, so that when this is closed and I have my cut edge, you can still see some of the paper behind it. Now, I didn't know if I wanted to use the darker brown, soft suede, or if I wanted to use Crumb Cake, which is lighter, when I did my trees. And these are heat embossed. I'm going to show you how we can heat emboss with colored ink. So anyways, I did that in both colors. And the Crumb Cake was just too light. But after I did it, I was thinking, oh, that'd be pretty with some blending, ink blending behind it. And look what it did. Because I heat embossed it, and I just used some red, yellow, and orange ink that was on my blending brushes and went over it and then wiped the trees off, it made this really cool background. I'm going to hold on to this one and do a different card with that. You know, I really didn't care for it so much on that wood grain. That's not so bad now, though, with the color on there. It stands out a little bit nicer. We'll see. Anyways, so I had that this morning. I just blended a little bit of ink over those trees and wanted to see how they were going to work. All right, let me get rid of some of this paper so we have room to work. I'm using, as I said, Crumb Cake, Night of Navy, and Very Vanilla. Let's do the end one first, because this one's going to take us a minute to cut out our edges. And I did have some there measurements that I figured would work, or at least help us. And there's our paper. And then we need those little vanilla ones for the flower. So my border dies have this little envelope point die in them. That's the one that we're using. And, oh, I already have, I was going to say, where's my stamp? I already have my stamp on my Stamparatus, because I did stamp it a couple of times. The only bad thing about this card is it's not one that you could stand up. You'd have to hang it, I guess, or I don't know, or just lay it down. It's not going to stand up on its own with a pointed end. But that's okay. I guess I could get that turned back around. There we go. So I've got my stamp in there. What do we need now? Okay. My soft suede is 4.5 by 11 that I have scored in the center at 5.5. Did I say 4.5? 4.25 by 11. And I measured up on each side 1 inch, excuse me, and then found the center of my card. And this was just to help me place my die evenly on all of my layers. So if I put my point of my die at the center mark, and I put each edge at the 1 inch dot, and I did that, actually it was not hard. We're not doing a fun fold card today. Yeah, I gave up on all that measuring. So this was super easy. I knew I wanted to go up about 1 inch on each side, so I took the front of my card, lined it up to 1 inch, used a pencil, and in the track of my trimmer, I just marked it there and on the bottom. There's my 1 inch marks. I knew this was 4.25, so I had to go 2 1/8. I measured over to the 2 1/8 mark and made a mark in the track of my trimmer. And that was it. That's what I did for every piece that I was going to use this die on. Oh, and I know I sound hoarse today. So I was reading the, I get a digital newspaper every morning. And at the end of the news, there's always some human interest articles. Okay, I have that lined up at the right above my 1 inch because I don't want to see my pencil marks. And at the center, I'm just going to use a piece of washi and stick that in place. I'm going to put it up after, see, that's why, because I knew I'd move it. And I'm going to tape it to that outside edge so that if I go to peel it off and it happens to pull my cardstock with it, I'm not going to rip the part that we will see. Yeah, so anyways, one of the human interest stories on there that you could click on and read about was a woman's photographs of 27 or 28 years of saying goodbye to her family. So like for 27 years or whatever, every time she left her mom and dad's house, she would take a picture of them waving goodbye to her. And then it got to the end where it was only her mom. Her dad had passed away. And then it got to where it was her mom in an assisted living facility that was waving goodbye. And then it was a picture of the empty driveway with the doors, you know, to her parents' house closed and the windows, the blinds were drawn and stuff. Oh my goodness, I started to sob. You would have thought my best friend just passed away. It was the most moving set of pictures for me. I don't know. I mean, I've been missing my parents and my husband's parents and stuff lately anyway. I don't know what's up with that. If it's just because it's spring and we've been cooped up forever. But anyways, these pictures were just awesome. Oh, I did save one of those to show you. We do have to measure the inside. Okay, and then this is going to be my one that we stamp on, and there's my wood grain one. Okay, so here's my wood grain, and I did the same thing. I measured up 1 inch on each side, and rather than trying to figure out my measurement on this one, I just folded it in half, put a little crease, and made a mark. It's not hard. This is 4 by 5 1/4, so it was at the 2 inch mark. Not really difficult, but because it's a lighter weight paper, I could do that. I'm going to do the same thing if I can reach over. Get these lined up in the center and above the 1 inch dot. You go down there. So that was my morning. It just, I don't know, sometimes things like, like the old Kleenex commercials at Christmas when they used to just get you. This article did that. My poor dogs were looking at me like, are you okay? Yep, good. Just losing it a little bit. Okay, and then we have a piece of Very Vanilla that is 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches long, so up 1 inch, and then the center is at 1 7/8. Line my point up to the center mark. And this is just so that they'll all layer on top of each other nicely on our card base. And you could do, if you have the basic border dies, you could do this with the scallops or the zigzag or whatever you're feeling in the mood to do there. Just giving it a little bit of something different, some special. Without really doing a fun fold. Okay, so that one's going to be on there. And then for our inside, I think I did this one at, oh, I got everything covered up here. How am I going to tell? I think this is supposed to be 4 by 5 1/4, but I might have cut it a little bit. It is 4 by 5 1/4 for your inside, and you don't have to do that. I just chose to so that it would look pretty when the card was closed, and 3 3/4 by 5 again, just like the one on the front. So let's make a couple little marks on this one. This one stays solid because we're going to glue that to the inside. Oh, now I gotta move you. I forgot that I had left this one unmarked so that I could show you how I did this. Yeah, so up 1 inch. Moved my card into the 1 inch spot, and in the track of my trimmer, I went up the side of my cardstock. Didn't mean to do it that hard. And then 3 3/4. Yep, 3 3/4. So I'm going to go to 1 7/8 and mark the center. And that's how I lined up my point on my border die. I'm going to move this up a little further because I scribbled my little dot there up too high. Oh, I keep moving it. Keep moving. Stay. Thank you. Oh, so what's everybody working on? I had taken all of this stuff downstairs yesterday when I was trying to design my cards. I just spread it all out at the kitchen table and work on it. And, you know, and that way my dogs aren't down there by themselves while I'm up in my craft room for hours on end. And so this morning I, of course, have to put everything away. Because when I had my sample cards made, I just bring it up and lay it here under the camera so I have everything ready to go. And then well, I went to put stuff away, realized that I had gotten a package. I ordered some Easter stuff for the kids for religious ed, and it came and it had all this packing paper in it. And the reason there was so much is because I had ordered a pad of posters for them, and the posters were big, so the box had to be big. Which was good for me because, you know, paper. Okay. So I had to straighten that all out and then fold it up so that I could put it away. And that took a minute. Okay, I think these two are the same. So we're going to use that for our inside. And the reason I had made this the same was because then when our flap is closed, that very vanilla isn't going to show on the bottom. See, this one is cut wrong. This is very narrow. Maybe I put out the off cut instead of the one that I had cut for this card. I'll look at that before we put it together and make sure. Let's do our embossing. Oh, I don't need that. I need this. I had my stamp pad all ready to go and I don't need it. So I had already lined my little tab looking piece up in my Stamparatus and lined up my trees where I wanted them to be. Look a little bit off to the right there. And then, there we go. I used soft suede ink. I have some clear embossing powder, and I have my heat gun ready. I kind of want to do this a little bit quicker than when we're using Versamark ink because Versamark ink is a sticky ink. Stay there and don't fall off. Our soft suede is not a sticky ink, but it is a wet ink. So we're able to get that embossing powder on our wet ink if we move kind of quickly. You don't have to speed through it, but we don't want to lollygag. I don't know how I keep missing the center of these trees. I was doing that downstairs too. My heat gun is squeaking all over the place here. You know, I probably should have looked. I think I had two soft suedes. This one might be a dry ink pad. That could be my problem. Soft suede. Where are you? Maybe not. Oh, I thought I did. Well, white espresso, granite, sand. Drives me crazy. I don't really want to have to re-ink, but that ink pad's not very inky. Not inky. All right, well, cross your fingers and we'll hope for the best, okay? Let's get in there This one should do it. So, have that inked. I'm going to sprinkle some clear embossing powder on here. Oh, good. That was hubby calling, and I was hoping I hit pause and not stop, which is my normal. But we're still going. Yes. Okay, so I sprinkled my clear embossing powder on here. Just right directly onto that soft suede ink. And then I'm just going to dump it onto a paper plate so that I can get it back into my little pot there. Hopefully. I'm not making too much of a mess. I'm getting embossing powder all over. He needs a phone number that he left on the kitchen counter. I'll have to get it and send a picture of it to him when we're finished. And then I think I have to go do our census. Anybody else out there get a census form? Go online and do that? Oh. Yeah, I was going to take a peek at it and see what all went involved, and I didn't. I figured I'd just get through my cards today and then go worry about doing that. All right, let's clean my stamp off. I'm sorry if I'm shaking you. Just trying to get the ink off of all the little tree branches there. And then I can use the heat tool. Oh, dare I even try to mute you so that it doesn't make all kinds of loud sounds. Give it a try. I just have to remember to unmute you when I'm done. There we are. So can you see how it kind of intensified and just made our, I don't know if you can tell it on the camera, if you can see that little bit of shine to it. And what it also does now is it gives us that option if we want to put a little bit of a background on there, we can put a little bit of, you know what, let's add a little bit of blue back there, like a beautiful spring blue sky. I'll just get my blue blending brush and let's see what I have just on here from there. It won't be a lot, and that'll be nice. Make sure it's cool. It's cool. And then we'll just put a little bit of blue behind there. Pretty blue sky. I didn't do that on my original one, but I could have. And that's not even dipping it in any ink. That's just the residue off of my blending brush. Take a paper towel and wipe off the embossed trees. And we have done this before, this emboss resist technique. Well, I guess I should have gone over a little further since I did that on the right side. Oh, come back, blue. to look like I was way off center there. Cute. All right. Ooh, well, I need that anyways because now we need to put our greeting on the bottom. And I used, because I didn't want to use Season's Greetings. Now I have fuzzies from the paper towel. Oh, that's what I did on the inside. Happy birthday wishes. And actually, because my ink was so, well, this ink pad really does need re-inked. My original one came out rather light, and I was wishing I would have stamped it a little harder. But I also didn't have my stamp pad downstairs with me, so that might hopefully make this better. Oh, good. It did. All right, and the only other thing oh, we were going to do the inside. Yeah. I remember. I really do. The inside, which came, and these greetings are from that Avant-Garden, just in case I didn't mention that, to someone who makes others so happy. This would be a great card for brother or dad or whoever, I think, with the wood, although I don't know, I guess it doesn't have to be. Now I can close up my soft suede and set it out here so that I remember to re-ink. Re-ink. All right, and let's check that wood grain paper. Should be another piece of it in here, I am sure. See, this is another piece of that paper that I really probably, I don't know. I don't know if it's the burlappy look behind it that, even this one is not something, I guess it's my favorite. Now I like this side, but I digress, and I'm going to take forever here if I don't move it along, right? Move it along. I need a 4 by 5 1/4 piece for the inside. Make sure the panels of my wood grain are matching the front and going up and down. Five 1/4. Yep. I almost put the wider one away. I want the wider one. Then for just a little bit more fun, I did have some, and it's kind of, I don't know, this is the only twine really that I had left that kind of matched. It's kind of a grayish brown, but it served the purpose. It looked good with it, and especially now that I have that blue background in there. And I just tied this around my top, my panel, made a little bow. Which way am I going? This way. I want my loop in the top. Slid this around a little bit. And oh, you're not going to lay pretty, are you? Come on. Yeah, I know it's still winter out there. That's why I thought these trees would be good. Even though a couple of days here we had were just beautiful. Now today we had a little bit of icy snow on the deck. There we go. But not bad. You know, if this is all we're going to get for our winter, I'm not going to complain. All right, I'll add the wood grain 4 by 5 1/4 panel to the inside of my card. Now the wind was a little wicked those last couple days. And then my insert, and I'm gonna kind of keep this a little bit towards the top of my card just in case, because I don't want it to show through the bottom when the card is closed. Am I on camera? I am. Okay. Our front wood grain panel with the pretty border edge down here. Don't stick until we're ready. Try to get my borders pretty even. If you find that you've cut your border back just a little too far or not far enough, you can always trim a little bit off of this edge of your panel before you glue it down to make it centered more, if need be. And then I stuck some foam dimensionals on the back of this one. And when I add foam dimensionals, I make sure I put it over my twine. It's going to help it stay right towards the top of the card where I wanted it. Better put a couple in the center so it doesn't flip-flop around, huh? Yeah. Oh, I forgot I was going to put dad or brother or something on that. That's okay. Maybe I'll do it on the one that I put the spring colors behind the trees. And again, try to get it lined up with my centers of my edges. And there we are. Cute. So there's a way to use your border dies and maybe use some paper that you wouldn't just grab on as your first choice. Okay, second one. Second one wasn't really very difficult either. So my card base is Night of Navy, and it is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock that I have cut in half, scored in the center, and folded. Gave it a nice little burnish. And then I took a piece of Crumb Cake, and I think that this is 3 3/4 by 5, because I'm going to layer a piece of that pattern paper underneath it, and that is 4 by 5, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. That's right, I did make it a little bigger so that we'll be able to catch a little bit more of that blue behind our crumb cake. And that's why I made this 3 3/4 by 5, so you can see some of the color. You know, I don't necessarily want to use this as my whole design, but I do want to see some of that blue in the background. I'm going to take my piece of crumb cake, layer it inside my embossing folder. You can spritz your paper with some water if you prefer. It does tend to make a better impression. I just don't think I have my water bottle handy over here anywhere. I'm not really sure where it's at, to be honest. Take out my cutting plate. Layer my embossing folder with the folded side going into my machine, which will help prevent my embossing folder from cracking. You know, sometimes you put so much pressure from these onto them, it can crack the edge of your folder. So that's the edge you want to go through first. Put my cutting plate back in here so that I don't misplace that. And see, this just gave a nice little dimension to our background. Nothing fancy, just a little added something. We can add this right to our card base. When I go to add my crumb cake, I'm going to use liquid glue since I have added some texture to that with the embossing folder. There's some little nooks and crannies that would maybe not stick just with a tape runner. So just going to use a little Tombow on here and center it on my designer series paper. See how you can get that little bit of blue right around the edges, and the blue card base helps that to come forward a bit. Then I didn't get a measurement for my, this was just 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And it just happened that was a good size to fit the floral stamp. 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. But of course, if you're using any other stamp set that you have, just adjust your background cardstock there to meet your stamp size. Then stamp pad, flower. I stamped this in Crumb Cake. Again, maybe I should have done that in a darker color to let my flower stand out, but I didn't really want a dark outline. I did put this on here, I'm dropping it, at a little bit of an angle, just for fun. And then also in the stamp set, there was a little bit of it's not coming off. I told you, I think this is one that I got secondhand, so it might just be stained. There was a there's a stamp in there that has little speckles or spots, and you know I'm a fan of doing some splatter. But I decided to just use the little spotted stamp that was in there. Oh, I should have put that under here because it's going to go on my stamp pad, and I don't really want that. Oh, wait. My leaves. I didn't put my leaves. I got ahead of myself. Goodness. This is just another little leaf that's in the stamp set. Can she see? No. Can't. Did I get my head in the way there? I hope not. If I did, I'm so sorry. Just help fill in that space a little bit. And then that's what I was using those little dots for, was to help fill in some of that empty space around the flower. Stamped it off once and just made a nice little spotsy here and there. You can also use your marker that we've done so many times in the past and do a little bit of splatter with that. I'm going to get it too full over here because I am going to put my greeting there. Okay. I think I'm done with that. Use Night of Navy, and I use the same happy birthday wishes. Nice. And if you don't know what I mean about the splatters, I'll do just a little bit on here so you can see. It will look pretty even with the crumb cake spots. So, oh, lost my marker. So this is my Night of Navy marker, and I'm using, which end am I using? Brush end. Yep, brush end. Flicking it from the inside of my cap, and it just makes a couple little splatters on here, which maybe I should have done after I colored my flower in, but hey, you know, either way, it'll work. I'm going to use the light Seaside spray and just color in those little petals. Not making a big deal out of it either. I'm not going to do light, dark, and make all kinds of shadows and shading. I just want to get some blue in here so that it will coordinate with the background paper and my card base. And then I did use my marker because that's what I had downstairs, but I think let's just use, that's Rainy Apple. Close that one. There we go, light Old Olive. Let's use the alcohol marker on this as well. And just add a little color to these leaves. Again, I'm not trying to we're getting all kinds of answers back now. I sent out a text to the ladies that our in-person workshop is going to be on the 28th. If you're local and you're interested in that, let me know. We just get together and make 3 cards. Oh, I just went out of the lines. That was not pretty. Oh. And that next one's coming up on the 28th. We meet at 10 in the morning. It usually takes a couple hours to get through 3 cards. And I provide everything you need to make them. So you don't have to bring anything except your pretty self and a smile. Stick these on here with some foam dimensionals as well. Oh goodness, we're going on an hour. I like to keep it a little shorter than that if I can. What can I say? I fidget too much sometimes. I'm going to line this up towards the left side of my card. And you can add ribbon. You could put a ribbon strip underneath it. You could add some gemstones if you like. Whatever your little heart desires to make it your own. I'm going to stick my insert panel in here so it's ready when I go to use it. Yeah, so for those of you girls that are out there answering me, I'll see you next week, right? No, not next week. This is Friday for me, so next week's only the 21st, and we're going to meet on the 28th. Oh, where's my original one of these? There it is. There it is. So what do you think? There you go. Avant-Garden and Winter Woods. I hope you like these, and I hope that you will maybe, pull out some of your stamp sets and go make a card, send it to somebody, and make them smile. And I'll see you guys all back here next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.